Hey everyone, Dan at Ochka Bushcraft. Welcome to part 5 of rural survival, making fire. And as you can see, we have our first snow in the Ochakos. A week ago, it was still in the 80s. It was still hot, it was dry. You didn't need fire. In fact, it was still high fire risk, and having a fire could have caused a wildfire. The nights were getting cool, but as we did the video on the bear bed, we had a shelter that would keep us warm. All that's changed. We had 2 days of heavy rain, and now, as you can see again, we have snow up here in the mountains. And it is below freezing out here, and the warmest it's going to get out here all day may only be 35 degrees. So we're going to need fire. Fire now becomes a priority. 2 reasons. One, survival. We got to stay warm. We may need to dry out. As I said, it had been raining, so we may need to dry out our clothing or dry ourselves out. The temperatures are going to drop again back down into the 20s, possibly even the teens tonight. We're going to need fire for warmth. And later on, we'll do a video on how to use that fire in front of a shelter to stay warm at night. Right now, we're just going to go over the basics of making a fire in a real emergency survival situation. Oh, reason number 2, signaling. Go back to the video that we did on signaling. I think it was video number 3. And you'll see the importance of a signal fire. Right over here to my right, 10-15 yards, is a big open area where I can build a fire, send up a lot of smoke. Watch how we did that in the signaling video, and draw in search and rescue so that they can find me and get me out of here. So here we go. Situation. I've been out hunting. That's hence the red and the orange. It's cold. It's snowy. I've lost my way. I'm cold. My hands are cold. My body's cold. I'm getting chilled. I need a fire. Okay, regardless, maybe I'll get back on the path here in a while. I'll find my way back to my vehicle. Maybe I'll find where I hung that last orange streamer. I lost my way for whatever reason. But right now, the thing is, I'm getting cold, I'm getting chilled, and I need fire. Or it could turn into the shivers, hypothermia, and then I might not have the dexterity left in my hands to get a fire. All right, first thing we need to do is I need to assess my surroundings. I need material to get the fire going. Now remember, in our pack, video number 1, we took some essentials with us for fire. We're not doing bushcraft where I'm going to go out and make a bow drill or tinder bundles for flint and steel. We're doing emergency survival fire. So in our pack, we've got windproof, waterproof matches. And I'm going to review these on another video because I love these things. I've been using them for years. Uco in a bright orange container, so if I drop it down on the ground, I'm going to be able to find it and get it back up. I've got some homemade cotton balls. Just take a cotton ball at home, rub some Vaseline into it, and put a few of them in a sandwich baggie. I got a couple baggies of those in here. And if you're absolutely opposed, no way are you going to do that, then get something like these wet fire tabs or something commercial. We don't want to waste time in a survival situation having to hunt around and find real fine dry things. We want to get that fire going as fast as possible. We also have a lighter, bright orange. Thing is, guys, it's now below freezing. These stop lighting when the temperatures get below freezing. I can stick it in my armpit and warm it back up to work. But we've got these, and we've got cotton ball with Vaseline, which gives you about 7 minutes of burn time. So we got what we need. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take the cotton and the Vaseline and shove them down in my pocket to where they're close at hand. And then we're going to take a little walk right around our area. If I have to go too far, I'm going to start hanging orange flags. But I can see back over here, I've got some resources for my fire. So hang on just a second. Okay, this tree right here is only about 15 feet from where I was just standing. So I haven't had to really move far. My pack's sitting right there on top of a root wad, which we'll come back to that in a minute. I got my windproof, waterproof matches in my pocket, along with my cotton balls saturated in Vaseline. And I'm looking for a source where I can get some smaller, dry stuff to get my fire going. Now, I've seen a lot of people who aren't used to being in a survival situation or even being in the woods. The first thing they do when they come to the woods is they start looking around on the ground for kindling and material to make a fire with. If you're making a fire and it's been warm and it's been dry, like it was a week ago we could have picked our stuff up off the ground. Now, everything's been rained on for a couple days and it's covered with snow. And see that? It bends over. It's wet. It's got wet inside. We want stuff that snaps. That's your test. So number one, don't look for stuff on the ground. Start looking around underneath trees all around me. Both fir trees and pine trees are lower hanging branches that are dry. They are, literally in every direction around me. Farthest I would have to walk in any direction is maybe 25 yards, and I've got lots of dead stuff up under the trees. So don't find stuff on the ground. Look for dead stuff, dead branches on the trees. Now listen, here's what you want. Do you hear that? If you bend it and break it, and or if it just bends, it's wet inside. If it bends and bends and bends and you can finally get it to break, but there's no snap, it's still wet inside. Listen, hear that? That's what you want. You want snap. The snap means it's still dry inside. So I'm just gonna start gathering up an armload of this stuff, breaking it off. It doesn't matter if it's long like this. In fact, it's better break off longer pieces, because when we go back over here where we're going to make our fire, we'll break it down into smaller, shorter bundles. So just start getting a lot of this stuff, breaking it off the tree. Fine bushy stuff like this. See that? That moss is still dry. And all those fine twigs, that's going to hold a flame and get it going. So, again, we're in a survival situation. All right. Nice thing is, right now, I'm not breaking a sweat, but I am moving around and I'm staying warm while I do this. Okay, so I'm just going to keep gathering. I'm going to get either one giant armload or a couple small armloads, and I'm going to take them back over here to where we're going to have our fire. So let me pause you guys while I get a nice full armload of this stuff. Okay, I got a good armload of this. This is going to be plenty to get our fire going and going good. The next thing I need is just a round branch. I guess I didn't need to say round, most branches are round. But a branch off the ground, 2 of them about yay long. I can take a long one and break it, 2 short ones, a few inches around, and it doesn't matter if they're wet, dry, rotten, or anything else, as long as they give me a few inches of airflow. This is to get air underneath our smaller stuff to get a flame going up through it. So the ground around me is covered. Let me step over here. So just something like this works absolutely perfect. There's another one here, or I'll break this one in half. And have two pieces. So again, that's just to get airflow into the fire. So let me move you guys and take all my stuff here with me. And we'll go over to where we're going to make our fire. Okay, number one, we covered this in the second video. Doesn't matter if you're going to have a fire or you're just sitting down to get your bearings or anything else, get yourself off the cold ground. You do not want the cold ground sucking the heat out of your body. I got myself a little pile of fir boughs, and I'm surrounded by pine needles. If they're wet, I'll throw my garbage bag over the top of them so I'm sitting on something dry. These are fairly dry. I got a small pile. I'm going to make that pile bigger before I settle in, but I'll show you guys how to lay our fire down and get set up. But before we do that, I need to also assess one other thing around me. I got everything I need to get the fire going, but what about sustaining it? If I only burn small stuff like that, you know, every 10 minutes I'm going to be back over to those trees getting armloads of small fine stuff. So I need some bigger stuff. Now, underneath these trees, there's one back up over here I can see, are some pretty big round dry stuff. I can break that off and start breaking it into shorter pieces, and that'll give me longer fire. But ideally, I'm going to need to get some bigger stuff. So blowdowns, dead trees. We got our folding saw, and we can start sawing. What I want to do is go back over here where the pack's sitting to that root wad and show you something about the Ochocos and a lot of other mountains all over America. It is almost impossible to go anywhere in the Ochocos and not find root wads like this. This is left over from a logging operation. There are also fallen trees from the winds and just trees that have died and fallen. And we don't have to go far. They're around us here. So we can cut off dead limbs, dead branches. We got our folding saw. Video number one, I said, have a folding saw. This could be a lifesaver, and today it will be. But these old root wads are full of resin, full of pitch, which is basically the gasoline of the forest. They will burn hot. They will put out a tremendous amount of heat, and if you get a big, thick piece of fat wood, it'll burn for a long, long time. You get a couple big round pieces of fat wood, and you can sit over at your fire for a couple hours and just stay nice and warm, put up smoke, throw green stuff on, put up smoke, and not have to worry about gathering any more wood for a while. So we're just going to saw a few pieces of this for our fire. Right there. Let's go with this. Oh, here's some up here. I just cut off a short piece, but I want you guys to see that. That is solid pitch. The dark stuff in there, that's resin, pitch. This is fat wood. And this one piece right here will burn hot, and it'll burn long. We're gonna get a couple more pieces and then go get our fire started. Okay, I'm in an area that's open, so my smoke will be seen. I've got one big tree behind me. I can move back and lean up against that tree if I want to rest. And I've got a small fallen pine tree behind the camera that I can saw for more wood if I need it. But I'm also only about 15 feet from that root wad, and there's a lot more fat wood there. So I've got enough firewood to burn the rest of the day and on through the night. Keep putting smoke up so I can be seen, stay warm and dry. Right now, I'm just worried about getting the fire going. After the fire's going, I can be proactive and gather up some rocks, build a little rock wall right here to reflect more heat on myself, or maybe make a few rocks around here so if it starts to dry out, the fire doesn't start creeping up the hill into the pine needles as they dry out. But for right now, I've done what I need to do. I got something to sit on to keep me off the ground. I got the small stuff to get the fire started, and I have some bigger pieces to throw on it to get it going and burning for a little while. So let's do this. Okay. Remember those big pieces that I just grabbed up off the ground? Just a couple of dead pieces of wood. I told you they didn't have to be dry or anything. We're going to lay those down right here, parallel. This is going to give us airflow underneath. Then we're just going to start taking some of this small stuff and breaking it up. And we'll get us a row going across this way. And just a few more. There we go. That is going to get our flames going. And then we'll get another section ready, because what we're going to do as soon as we get our flames coming up through this first piece, and we're going to stick another one on the opposite direction, this way. So we start with one this way, across those two dead pieces of wood, and then when the flames come up through there, we'll put another one on top that way. And when the flames come up through that, we'll put another one on the opposite direction. And if we have enough material, we will even do a fourth one that way. But that will get us a good flame going. And we'll be set. We'll have our fire up and running. All right. All I want now is something to put my cotton ball on so I can light it and shove it underneath. So I'll just take one of those pieces off that fat wood over there and do that. Cotton ball Vaseline, windproof, waterproof matches. Just take this cotton ball. It's saturated with Vaseline, so I'm going to turn it inside out a little bit and get some of those dry fibers out. I'm going to set it right here on this. Set it where you guys can see it. These matches are windproof, waterproof. Again, it's below freezing, so unless I want to warm my lighter up in my armpit or something, it's done. There we go. I'll give you plenty of burn time. Get that going. And I'll just put the match down in there too. I'm going to slide this underneath. Oh, it fell off my piece of wood there. I'll slide that underneath. There we go. And let it start burning up through the branches. As soon as that flame starts coming up through this first layer, then we'll put that second layer on. So we'll give it a minute here to do its thing. And I've got more tinder with me. If worst case scenario comes and I had to use another cotton ball or something, I've got more with me. But it's starting to catch underneath there. And very shortly, our flame should make an appearance up through the top. You don't want to put anything else on until the flame comes up through the top. Wind's starting to blow. I can hear it blowing through the trees. So I'm going to adjust this a little bit. There we go. What happened was my cotton ball, when I shoved this under, fell onto the wet ground. So it wasn't getting up in the branches where it needed to be. So that's something you want to watch, because obviously I've been doing lots of fires, and even I got careless and let the cotton ball fall off onto the wet ground. So I put it back up on the piece of wood that is underneath there, and now it's making its way up through the branches. We'll just give it a minute here and start putting our cross sections on. I'm going to pause you guys for just a minute while I go over here and get something out of my pack. I brought my pack over here so I could hydrate. Make sure you stay hydrated when you're out here. Even in the cold, you actually can become dehydrated in the cold just as fast as the heat. Oh, nice. Okay. Now, that's starting to burn up through the top there. So I'm going to start to put a few more on the other direction. The wind's blowing across. There we go. I can get over here out of it. So this second layer is going this way. I decided to break it up a little smaller because the flame was taking its time coming up through there. So I've got one layer this way, one layer this way. As soon as the flames start coming up through this, I'm going to do another layer the opposite direction again. a couple more in there. And that wind is going to help. That wind is going to cause that air circulation to come up underneath. So my flames are just now starting to break through the top there. So I'm going to go ahead and do a layer the opposite direction. Now you want to be careful that you let your flames start coming up through before you put too much on, or you can kill your fire. And if you need to, you can always blow. So a couple good breaths of air blowing down underneath help bring those flames right up through there. Keep building on what I've got. I got one layer this way, one this way, and I'm working on the third layer right now. And now I'm going to put a fourth layer on, going back across this way. That'll get me a good foundation to where I can put some of that bigger stuff on. And I'm going to give a couple more blows underneath. And if your wood is wet, like mine is, even up under that tree, it was snapping and stuff and dry inside, but it's wet on the outside, so it's taking a little bit longer to catch. Just get down underneath and blow into your flames. Blow this thing up into fire. All right, and while that's starting to do its thing, I'm going to go gather up a few more big pieces of wood and then come back. Okay, I got me some more pieces of that fat wood. So now that my flames are coming up good through here, I can start putting on some of those pieces of fat wood, and I'll cross them the opposite direction. I got some smaller pieces. And I got some bigger ones. Oh, the wind switched on me. Oh. Gonna have to move my seat around. And here's that big fat one we cut. I'll put it right here on top. And I got some more back here. So we will be good for a while. In fact, what I'll do, let's see. Move you guys around out of the smoke there. Let me pause you. Readjust the camera. So there you go. Now, with the fat wood on top starting to burn, this thing is starting to put out some nice heat. I got a couple more pieces laying there, and I'm 10 feet away from that root wad where I can cut off some more pieces and some bigger pieces. So that'd be the next thing, is some bigger, longer pieces, and pile 3 of those in here. And then get me some more fir boughs, spread them out. I can lay down and relax, hydrate, have a snack, take a little nap if that's what I need to do, or be proactive and start putting green material in the fire to send up smoke, like your fir boughs. Put those in there, start sending up a whole bunch of dark smoke. I can get some rocks. There's a bunch of rocks around here, and make a little rock wall on the other side to reflect more heat on me. There's a lot of things I can do where I don't need to work up a sweat. I don't need to leave the area. I can gather in more firewood, make a pile. If it's getting close to dark, that's what I'm going to want to do. I want to have this fire going all night long, and I don't want to be wandering around in the dark. I got my headlamp. I'll get it out, put it on my hat so it's ready to go, and just stay proactive. Bear in mind, things aren't always easy. Now, this fire took some time to get going. Even though the branches were snapping when we broke them off, they were still wet on the outside. So it took that cotton ball several minutes to gradually start giving us some flame. And I had to baby it. If it would have been drier, I could have just taken those whole round bundles and put one on this way, another one. And that's what I usually do when things are drier. But everything, I mean, it rained hard before it turned to snow. So everything is pretty wet on the outside. And so I decided to break it down and piece by piece, baby it. So remember, give your fire plenty of oxygen underneath. Baby it along if you need to, a few sticks that way, a few sticks this way. Get it going good. Then get some bigger stuff on top. Fat wood is ideal. If you can see a blowdown, a root wad, anything near you, get some of that fat wood in here. This thing is putting out a lot of heat. And make sure that you have a Ziploc bag full of fire starting material, and it can be dryer lint saturated in Vaseline or chapstick, cotton balls and Vaseline, or like those wet tinder taps. But have a bunch, because this could have gone out and I might have to use another one. I might have had to use 2 at the same time to really get it going. So have a whole Ziploc baggie full of those things for multiple fires. You know, if you need to use 2, 3, whatever to get a fire going. So Dan at Ochco Bushcraft, making fire in a real survival situation. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay safe out there.